Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Florida Aviation Network's live broadcast. Today we're at the Sun and Fun campus at Lakeland Linder International Airport, Lakeland, Florida, and we are part of the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. We weren't able to do this Aerospace Expo last year, Sun and Fun, but this year we're back with a vengeance, and we're having a great time and interviewing some really interesting people through the Florida Aviation Network. I'm Ron Timmermans, one of the many hosts for the Florida Aviation Network. I'm delighted to be with you here today. For the next segment, we're featuring Polk State College and their aerospace program. And who would we have to meet with? But it's Program Director, Mr. Eric Crump.
There we go. Hey, Ron.
Indeed. Eric, thank you for joining us today.
It's lovely to be back at Sun and Fun, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. You get to be at Lakeland Airport virtually every day, is that correct?
I get to be here all the time, yeah. So Sun and Fun is a once-a-year thing for many people. It's a daily thing for us. We're located just on the southeast corner here of the Lakeland Airport. Our campus is here.
And tell us a little bit more about Polk State College. So you've got quite a few students, I understand, and some specific degree programs. We'd like to hear about that.
So Polk State College is a state college that has an aerospace program, 60 other degree programs as well, close to 20,000 students on 9 different campuses here in Polk County. The Airside East campus is where we're located. Unlike the other programs at the college, we need airplanes. You can't park those on a normal college campus. So we have a campus here at the Lakeland Airport. Our aerospace program is made up of 4 different degree programs. So 3 associate's degrees and a baccalaureate degree as well. So the associate's degrees are in professional pilot science. So I've never been in an airplane to commercial pilot in 2 years. The Aerospace Administration program, I tell people to think about like a business degree, but for aviation. It's a very specific aviation business degree focusing on FBO management, flight school management, airport management, things like that. Then the Aviation Maintenance Management degree, which if you think about getting your A&P certificate, becoming an AMT, and then going to work doing line maintenance somewhere, that's the first job. The degree that we offer is the supervision and management degree for that person to promote up and maybe be an MRO manager or something like that. So it's the supervision and management piece.
So those are the 3 associate degrees, and then a baccalaureate degree
and a baccalaureate degree in aerospace science.
Science.
Interestingly, Polk State was the first public institution in Florida to offer a bachelor's degree in aerospace. Everybody knows about the great private institutions we have in Florida that offer that training. They do a great job with it, but it's very expensive. And for many students, it's cost prohibitive. And so we saw an opportunity, particularly because of our location in the center of the state, to be able to offer a very high value, low cost program for folks to come in, still do the bachelor's degree, still learn to fly, still get the restricted ATP endorsement, but to do it at a fraction of the cost of what it would cost you to go to a private institution.
And so you're leveraging your geographic location to draw more students in from throughout Florida and I imagine from other states as well?
It's odd, yes. So our total at the college, our out-of-state enrollment makes up less than 10% of the total enrollment of the college because we serve our local community.
Sure.
I haven't looked at the actual numbers, but I would definitely bet that over half of our out-of-state students are in the aerospace program. That didn't start immediately. That was maybe 2 or 3 years in. We'd have people call, like, hey, I'm in Arizona. And I'm like, we're in Florida, right? But people would come we've had people come from Arizona, from California, from Pennsylvania, from all over the country. Even from, I've got 2 students from the UK, 1 from Australia. It's just, it was not what I expected it would be, but I'm so thrilled that opportunity extended just beyond our local area. It extended to people everywhere.
So tell me, how did this aerospace program come about here at Polk State College? Has it been here forever, or did it just recently?
So the program started, we enrolled our first students January of 2013. So
just 8 years ago.
It's relatively young, yeah. So I came down in September of 2012 and started the program. There was no program, there were no students. So when January 2013 came, we really hoped somebody would show up. We had 9 students. We had 3 airplanes and 2 flight instructors, and we were really excited.
Wow.
We're really excited somebody, because we've grown considerably now, just under 300 total students in 4 degree programs.
Wow. So I'm talking to the godfather of the Aerospace Tech program.
Yes, leave the cannoli. It's something like that. It's weird. I went through a collegiate aviation training program myself, and I went to college to be an airline pilot, like many people do. That was the thought process. when I got there, I realized that I fell in love with the idea of training and education, which is weird because I was not a good student. Like K-12, don't ever interview any of my K-12 teachers. They won't tell you nice things about me. I was not anybody's ideal student, but I found aviation and I loved it so much. And I had an Algebra 2 teacher. I said, Eric, you're really gonna have to apply yourself. You want to be a pilot, right? And I said, yeah, but I don't need to know any of this. And she goes, well, let me show you all the different types of math that you're gonna have to understand in order to excel in aviation. I was like, oh.
And the light bulb
And the
went
light
off.
bulb went off. And I was like, oh, so I should probably buckle down and try to be a decent student.
This
so
was back in third grade or high school?
Okay, that was started really in my 9th grade year, and then by the time I was in 11th grade, I knew I wanted to be a pilot. Early on, I thought I wanted to be an engineer, but I had started flying. I actually started flying the day after my 13th birthday. I soloed on my 16th birthday, all that. I've always been in love with aviation, and I thought the idea of designing aircraft would satisfy me, but I have to be in the airplane. And even now, if I just flew a desk, I wouldn't be able to stand it. I still do some contract flying. I'm fortunate enough to be able to do evaluation flights with our students here. So I do still get in the airplane. I don't think I could ever stop. You know what that's like.
I do indeed.
You do know what that's like.
Yeah. And I too thought when I was finishing high school that aerospace engineering was for me. And I started that in my college career and quickly decided that was a little bit more challenging than I wanted. But what was important to me was being in the cockpit, flying an airplane. And so I changed majors and graduated in architecture. But as soon as I started professional work, I also started flight training, right out of college. Actually, secured a loan so that I could pay for flight training. That's how important it was to me. But it was a wonderful thing and a great decision because I've loved aviation. I love my other career as well, but aviation has just been wonderful for me. And like you, Eric, I found, I think like you did, you said education in aviation has become very important and very fulfilling. And for me as a flight instructor, I certainly find that to be a fulfillment of what I do.
It's that light bulb, You're working with somebody and they're having a hard time grasping something, but then they get it. You see that light bulb come on over there. It's addictive. You just want to go and do it again.
Yeah.
And again and again and again. I love it.
Yeah. So how long have you been flying? How many years now?
You're going to make me do math. We just talked about how I'm not a good math student.
So
I can
within 10 or
out.
20 years to give me how many?
About 24 years.
Okay, good.
Yeah, total.
Good. See, that wasn't that difficult, Eric.
That was mental math.
Yeah.
I can figure that one out.
Cockpit math is what is difficult.
Math,
yeah,
exactly.
right, exactly. How many minutes from final approach fix to touchdown? Yeah, 2.5 normally, but so. Well, very good. And how many hours have you flown? Have you accumulated?
So I am sitting just under 4,000 total hours.
Very good. And you're an instructor as well, I trust?
Yeah.
So how many hours of instruction
about
out of that 4,000?
2,800 or
so.
so.
More than half of it.
Yeah.
So obviously you're an educator as well as an aviator?
Even when I was flying corporate, I still had to instruct. I loved the flying. I loved the different destinations and meeting famous people and all that. It was fun, but I've always been a flight instructor.
Very
I
good.
guess I probably always will.
Yeah. Speaking of famous people, there's a story that's been going around here about you and, is it Mr. John? Elton John?
Okay, so Elton John does not remember meeting me.
Oh, he doesn't?
He does not remember meeting me.
But you remember him for
some
reason.
I do remember him. I was on a golf cart with a line operator. We had just pulled one of our airplanes out because I was going on a trip or something, and we were driving back to the FBO. I was right on the golf cart with the lineman, and Elton John was coming off of his airplane at PDK, had a couple of dogs and a bunch of people with him or whatever. And the guy I was riding with, he goes, "Watch this," which usually when Paul said that meant something terrible was going to happen. Paul was a prankster and a trickster, but Paul's driving and I'm on this side of the golf cart. We pulled up right next to them, and Paul wolf whistled as loud as he possibly could, to the point where it hurt my ears. And Elton John snapped his head and flipped me off. So I got the bird from Elton John. That actually happened.
Well, that's good.
Hopefully he doesn't remember that. Yeah. I was so embarrassed. Like, Paul, really?
So if you're watching today, Mr. John, this is the one that you really
I'm sorry,
embarrassed there
it
on
wasn't
the ramp.
me. It wasn't me. I was just on the wrong side of the golf cart.
He didn't whistle, but you gave it to him anyway. All right, well, back to your students, Eric. So Obviously, what's important is giving these young people, men and women, an education in aviation, whether it be business or pilot training or whatever. But is there another underlying lesson that you wish for them to understand and take to heart?
Yeah, I think I've even said this to our staff sometimes. I think sometimes the flight training is almost incidental to really what we're there for. Like I said, I was a terrible student. I was never going to excel in school unless somebody gave me a reason to care, right? And I think what our real responsibility is in aviation education, whatever form that takes, whether you're a flight instructor, a ground instructor, you work in a college program or an academy or whatever, is really to help students learn the value of perseverance and dedication to a task. Flight training is hard. It's not, I was not a natural student. Holding took a little while for me during my instrument training. It took me a little while to understand that. Power of 180s in my commercial training, I thought I was never going to get over that, and finally I did. So there were plenty of plateaus for me too. But if I had ever given up,
for me it was lazy eights. I still can't do them very good today. Maybe you could help me in that. But
well, let's talk later. Maybe you can help me with the Power of 180s, and I'll help you with the lazy eights.
That would work.
We'll trade.
Instructor to instructor.
Instructor. We won't tell anybody how it works out. But I just think there's such a value there in the perseverance lesson, not just for somebody to get through training, but if you learn that lesson in training, then I think when we're churning pilots out or mechanics or whatever it is we're doing, when we churn those people out into the industry, if they've learned that lesson, then when you deal with industry downturns, when you deal with, well, you're too junior for this base, so you're gonna have to move, and you didn't really want to move, or you're sitting reserve somewhere and you didn't really want to do that either, or tough times come along, you've learned that lesson. But beyond that, I think we're less likely to do stupid things, maybe sign off something that we shouldn't have signed off on, or take that flight that we knew we shouldn't have taken, because we know how hard we had to work to earn that certificate, that rating, to get there. And because of that, we take it a little more seriously. I think that's really what we're there for. I tell my students all the time, my daughters are older now, but when Penelope was 8 years old, she was flying an airplane just as well as I could. She has a natural understanding of how an airplane moves through three-dimensional space. That's very difficult to teach. That just takes experience. But she was good she had no idea how to talk on the radio. She had no idea how to make decisions or plan cross-country flights, but she could maintain aircraft control. Flying an airplane is not hard. And you know this as an instructor. The students who get in and try hard to fly the airplane end up over-controlling it. It doesn't need that much from you. It's a complex machine. It knows what it's doing. It's our job to point it in the right direction and make good decisions about what direction that was. And I think the flying part is almost incidental. It's because you can go anywhere and earn a certificate or rating. I did that. I earned my private at my local airport before I went to college.
Yeah.
But the lesson of seeing it through and then being responsible with that certification you've been given, I think that's the lesson.
Indeed. So those are lessons that you're applying to students that come through your program. Yeah. Good. And so you said roughly 300 students in the aerospace program here.
Right.
And how many of them will graduate this year?
So we'll graduate about 48 students this year.
48 students, okay. Well, that's good. So some of the junior classes have more students in them than this current senior class.
Yeah, so when the program started, we told the state in our original proposal that by year 3 we'd have 30 students. We had 150 by the third year.
Oh my goodness.
So the program has grown at a rate that none of us expected or planned for. And I've got to say that the only reason this was possible is because of the get to yes mentality and collaborative nature of Polk State College, being willing to support a new program that was growing at that rate. And but beyond that, our local partners. There's no way we could have done what we've done on our own. Between Sun and Fun, Central Florida Aerospace Academy, and our partners in economic development, you can't do this as a state college with a state college budget.
I'm sure not.
And state college resources without friends who are there to see you through. And it has been it takes a village. In our experience, it definitely was that to grow that fast and to still maintain quality, to keep your hands on it and make sure that the outcome was still what you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
It takes a team.
So you said you started in 2013 with, what was it?
9
students.
1 degree, 9 students.
1 degree and 9 students.
Yeah.
And that was associate degree, or did you
That
have
was
a
the
background?
pilot associate's degree. We had 3 airplanes and 2 flight instructors. That was the whole program.
Wow. Were you one of the flight instructors, or were you?
No.
You were the director at the beginning.
I was the director. I've been able to do a little bit of instruction here and there, and I do get to do some of the evaluation flights. But yeah, I wish I still had the time to be in the airplane. I miss it.
Yeah,
I really do.
I'm sure. What do you have for airplanes for training?
So it's a mixed fleet. We have Piper Cadets for initial private training. Then they switch to the G1000 172. They do all their instrument in the 172. They begin commercial and they go ahead and knock out their TAA time in the G1000 with the autopilot. And then they go into the cross-country time building stuff and then the maneuvers and finish commercial in the cadet again.
Oh, good. And so do you have multi-engine as well? Or
and the Seminole for multi-engine.
Oh, and Seminole for Seminole for multi-engine. Good. So when a student graduates with an associate degree in pilot
science.
Yep. How many hours will they likely have and what ratings will they likely have?
Well, that depends. So you could do your multi-engine and your flight instructor certification as part of your associate's degree if you want to. They're elective courses. If you wanted to go ahead and graduate from the AS and move into the bachelor's degree, that's fine. And you can then do the multi-engine and CFI in the bachelor's degree as well.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we understand commercial's a lot of hours, it's a lot of time, right? So the students are spending a lot of money to get through commercial. And so for many, it's better to spread out the multi and CFI. Okay. For some, like particularly for our veterans who are using their post 9/11 GI Bill, they'll roll right into multi and CFI immediately. Yeah. So you can do them whenever you want to, really, just as long as it's done before you graduate.
Okay. So the college tuition is one part, and then the flight training can be spread across either 2 or 4 years or whatever you want. So there's a lot of good flexibility there then. So
that was the idea. The whole point was access and opportunity. You know, I go back to where I started. We just saw that there was a need. There were people who wanted to do this, but just couldn't pick up their life and move, you know, to Daytona for Brittle or Melbourne for FIT, or that didn't fit their lifestyle. Maybe they were married, they had some kids, they were working, you know. So we saw the need to come in with a program that was flexible, that could work with, you know, a normal adult schedule. The average age of my students.
Pilots are normal adults.
Well, if there is any normality in that. But you know, the average age of my students is 25. So we have several students who will matriculate from CFAA right here literally across the street from where we are right now.
Indeed.
Who will come over and join us, who come in as traditional college students. And then I get 25, 30. I think our oldest student was 62.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Had retired from his second career. And he was in the Air Force, retired, and then was a civilian contractor for a while, and said, okay, I'm done, but I'm going to use my GI Bill. I'm going to do all my flight stuff, and me and my wife, we're going to move to Hawaii, and I'm going to go fly island tours.
Oh, how cool.
And so he came through the program. 2 years later, him and his wife, he retired from his civilian contractor job with DOD. They moved to Hawaii with his brother, and he's flying the islands right now.
Happy as he can be.
And at 182, living his best life. Yep.
Yeah, so at 62, back to Polk State College, my colleague Ben Coleman would say, Ron, there is hope for you yet, probably. Well, that's one great student success story. I imagine you've had a number of graduates. Any other success stories that come to mind, Eric?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing that pops to mind is we have our first 2 students that are flying for Prime Air now.
Prime Air, that's a subsidiary of
Amazon.
And Amazon has a big presence here at Lakeland Airport anymore,
so
don't they?
Amazon moved their facility from Tampa to the Lakeland Airport, and that's been it's neat to walk out the back door and see 737s and 767s coming in and out. Anyway, it's nice, but I have 2 students that have gone through the ropes to get there, and one texted me the other day and said, you know, I'm on final coming into land on, you know, runway 27, and I look, and there's the building where I learned how to fly, and I'm flying the 737, and he said, I'm not going to lie, I got a little bit teary-eyed about it, but I mean, it was a whole circle, you know, I learned to fly here. And his point was, you know, he was working, he had to work to get himself through college, so there was no other opportunity for him to go to a flight program and to be able to do this. And so those kinds of things, that's what gets me out of bed, that's why I go to work. But like you, I mean, if you're doing something you love, it's not really work. It's really easy to do what I do. It's very easy to go to work.
I'm sure it is, and I'm so glad you're able to do that. That's living your dream, and that's a wonderful thing.
Indeed.
I got one quick anecdote I wanted to tell you about. I live in Orlando, and so I fly with a lot of clients, oftentimes doing flight reviews and transition training and some IPCs. And Lakeland Airport is a great one to come to. It's close near Orlando, where I fly out of, and they've got all kinds of approaches, both directions, and friendly folks in the tower, and approach control out of Tampa and the like. So I often do training here, and I was on the ground one day taxiing for a takeoff on runway 9. So we were down at the west end of the runway where all the Amazon ramp is and the hangar there. And we were sitting in the cockpit.
Almost in Hillsborough County.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And in Tampa Aerospace. But we were sitting there going through a brief on what we were going to talk about and what we we're going to do next for the approach. And the ground controller comes on and calls our number and said, "Are you about ready to go?" And I said, "Well, we've got a couple minutes yet." And he said, "Well, could you move ahead? We got a big guy behind you." And we turned around and looked, and there's one of the monster Amazon airplanes that had landed apparently while we were talking.
And he wants
had taxied back. He wanted to get in the ramp where we were blocking his way. So I've learned about that now when I taxi, get all the way to the end of the taxiway and get out of the way of the Amazon folks, because they're busy and they're in a hurry.
I was talking to Gene Conrad, the airport manager, yesterday. I saw him during setup, and I said, "So how's it working out with the schedule?" Because Amazon agreed to vacate that building during the air show because it's in the box. So they actually have to shut down and leave during the air. And they were willing, that's how much they wanted to come here.
Yeah.
They were willing to do that. And then I said, "So what about the flights?" And he goes, "Well, there's 2 coming out in the morning." And I said, "When you say morning," he goes, 6 a.m. And I was like, I bet those campers really enjoyed, a 7.6 going to full power at 6 o'clock in the morning. That was nice.
And then roaring down the runway.
Indeed.
With jet blast coming out behind him. Well, folks, we've finished the time allotted for this particular interview. Eric Crump, thank you so much for joining us today. Director of the Aerospace Program at Polk State College. What an interesting project that you have, one that you helped birth when you brought it here in 2013, and the successes that you've had and the student successes that you've experienced and gotten to live through. I can see where you really enjoy your job, and so this is a great thing. Thank you for joining us and for spending some time with us. My name is Ron Timmermans. I'm with the Florida Aviation Network, and it's been my pleasure to introduce you to Eric Crump and the Polk State College Aerospace Education Department. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for more interesting interviews.